All right, we're about to pull back the curtain on a secret language that, believe it or not, powers pretty much everything you do online. It's a process that happens billions of times a second, hiding in plain sight. And it all starts with a very simple question. Now, seriously, think about it for a second. You're watching a show on your TV, you hit pause, you walk away, and later, you open the app on your phone, and it's right there. It's waiting for you. How does it know? It feels like magic, right? But it's not. It's actually the solution to one of the most fundamental challenges in computing. You see, every app you use has a kind of short-term memory. Think about your character's health in a video game, or the items you just tossed in your online shopping cart. All that information is live inside the app's brain, so to speak. But what happens when you need to save that info or send it across the internet? How do you package up a living, breathing memory? And that is the heart of the problem. Inside a program, data is this complex, structured, living thing. But to store it or send it, it has to be flattened into something simple, a basic string of text that anything can understand. So how do you translate between these two completely different states? How do you bridge that gap? Well, the solution is a brilliant and surprisingly elegant process called serialization. You can think of it as the Rosetta Stone of the digital world. It's a universal translator that lets any program package its complex memory into a simple message that can be sent literally anywhere. So, to put it simply, serialization just takes that living piece of data, that object, and converts it into a format that can be easily saved or sent. Most of the time, that means turning it into a simple string of text. You've probably seen the term JSON before. Well, that's just a really common, standardized way of writing down data so every system agrees on what it means. And of course, if you can pack a box, you need to be able to unpack it, right? Well, that reverse process, turning the text back into a living object, that's called, you guessed it, deserialization. Okay, so that's all the theory. But what does this translation actually look like in the real world? Let's walk through a super simple example. So just imagine an application is holding this little piece of data in its memory. We'll call it a person object. And this person has a name, John, and an age, 30. Right now, inside the program, this is a structured, living piece of information. Now, to save or send John's info, a programmer just writes a single command. This one little line of code basically tells the system, hey, take that person object and serialize it. In other words, turn it into text for me. And boom, here's the results. Our structured person object has been totally flattened into a simple text string. Now you can see the structure is still there. You've got the labels, name, and age, but it's just text now. Any program, on any computer, anywhere in the world can read this. Okay, so our data is all packaged up. Now, let's imagine we've sent that text message to a completely different computer. How does that computer bring John back to life? Well, it just uses the opposite command. This line tells the system to deserialize that text data. It's basically saying, hey, I'm expecting this text to describe a person, so please rebuild that person object for me. And just like that, it works perfectly. The receiving program has a brand new person object in its memory with the exact same name and age as the original. The data has made a complete round trip, and it is totally intact. So let's just trace that journey one last time. You start with a living object inside an application. That object gets translated or serialized into simple text. That text then travels across the internet or gets saved to a hard drive. And then on the other side, it's rebuilt, deserialized, into a perfect copy of the original. That's the whole dance. Now, this whole thing might seem like a small technical trick, but I am not exaggerating when I say this process is a core engine of the modern internet. It is happening constantly, all around you, every second of the day. I mean, this is happening everywhere. When you save your video game, you're serializing your progress. When you're scrolling through social media, your phone is constantly deserializing data from a server to show you new posts. All the communication between apps and servers, your online shopping cart, your banking app, all of it is built on this constant, invisible process of packaging and unpackaging data. So it turns out the secret language of data is really just plain text. It's a universal translator that lets all the complex systems we rely on every day speak to each other. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If today's entire digital world is built on these simple little strings of text, what's going to be the next universal language that powers our future?